Hello students, welcome to your today's English class. Today we are going to learn about desert animals, chapter 9 in your Honeysuckle book. When we hear the word desert, what comes to our mind? We think about the dry sand dunes of Rajasthan, Gujarat, etc. Now what are these sand dunes? Sand dunes are heaps or small mounds of sand formed by the wind. When the wind blows, these sands get deposited in an area and a small mound or a hill is formed. They are called as sand dunes. Now, what are these deserts? Deserts are the driest places on the earth. They remain without rainfall, sometimes for months and sometimes for years. It is difficult for plants and animals to survive in the desert. Still, many animals and plants survive these harsh conditions and live in these deserts. These animals cannot survive without water in the scorching sun. Now, what is the meaning of scorching? Scorching means very hot. So, nature has provided these animals with some unique ways to cope with the harsh conditions in the desert. For example, animals like the gerbils or the desert rats, they spend the hot daytime in their cool underground burrows. And some strange insects like the darkling beetles, they catch the moisture on their legs, then slowly lift them into the air and allow the water to trickle down into their mouths. Now, not all deserts are sandy. Some are rocky, that is filled with pebbles or small stones. Some others are full of thorny bushes, and some others are sprinkled with beautiful flowers during the spring. So dear children, you have learned what a desert is. Now, let's have a look at the different kinds of animals that survive in these deserts. This extract, Desert Animals, throws light on the life of some animals like snakes, mongooses and camels who survive in these deserts. First, let's have a look at the snakes. There are around 2,300 different kinds of snakes around the world. Most of these snakes are harmless or non-poisonous, but some are very poisonous. And most of these snakes lay eggs, but some of them give birth to their young ones. Now, let's learn about a very poisonous and dangerous snake seen in the rocky deserts of America. It is called as the rattlesnake or the rattler. The rattler usually prefers to avoid people, and it can strike with a lightning speed at its enemy. Now, why the name rattler? Whenever it is disturbed, the snake holds its tail straight and rattles the end. And what is the meaning of the word rattle? Rattle means to make sound by shaking or vibrating objects. And the rattle of this snake could be heard as far as 30 meters away. Like most snakes, the rattlesnake also hears through the vibrations in the ground. These rattlesnakes are very common right across the American continent from Canada to Argentina. Now, what do they feed on or what do they eat? They feed on a variety of prey like rats, voles, mice, chipmunks and other small creatures. A rattlesnake kills its prey with venom. What is the meaning of venom? Venom means poison. Another animal which lives in the desert is the mongoose. Mongooses hunt together and they move in groups of about 20. And they are a very common sight in many parts of Africa. It's really amusing to watch how these cute animals search for food. They poke their noses into the holes, overturn the rocks, and scratch on the logs of wood to see whether any beetles or millipedes are there for them to feed on. Mongooses are always alert and vigilant and on the lookout for danger from their predators like hawks, eagles, and the larger snakes. They always keep in touch whenever they move out of sight behind the bushes and the rocks by twittering and calling. And if they spot any danger or if they are suspicious of a danger, they warn each other by a special alarm call. Another interesting fact about the mongooses is that they are well known for killing snakes without getting hurt themselves. Their reactions are so fast that they move quickly every time the snake strikes them. They do this continuously till the snake gets tired, and once they realize that the snake is tired, they quickly dive in for the kill. Now, let's see how the mongooses take care of their young ones. All female mongooses have their kitten at about the same time, and they are kept together in a den. All these young ones are kept together in a den. When the adults are out looking for food, one or two males remain inside these dens and take care of their young ones. Another common animal seen in the desert or which lives in the desert is the sheep of the desert. Yes, the camel. Camels were first domesticated by people thousands of years ago. But in the wild desert, they live in a group of about 30. Now, let's look into some interesting facts about the camel. Let us see how camel survives in the dry and cold conditions of the desert. Nature has provided the camel with long, shaggy skin coats to keep them warm during winter, and short and tidier coats to keep them cool in summer. Another fact is that a thirsty camel can drink about 30 gallons of water, that is 500 full glasses in just 10 minutes. Normally, the camel gets all the moisture it needs from the plants it eats and can survive up to 10 months without drinking water at all. Now, how they are able to eat these thorny bushes in the desert? Their mouths are so tough that these thorns cannot pierce into it. Students, have you seen a camel with two humps? Yes, there are two different kinds of camel. One is called as dromedary and has a single hump on its back. The other one is known as Bactrian and has two humps on its back. Now, what are these humps? These humps are rounded fleshy mass on the camel's back. What is the use of these humps on the camel's back? There is a wrong notion or belief among the people that these humps store water. No. These humps act as storage containers and they store fat in it. This fat stored in the humps nourishes or supports the camel when food is scarce and helps them to survive in the desert. So, dear children, you have understood how different kinds of animals survive in the harsh conditions of the desert. Now it's time to sum up. Let's begin with the desert. What is a desert? Desert is the driest place on the earth, which receives less or no rainfall, and it is difficult for the plants and animals to survive. Still, they survive in these harsh conditions and they have their own unique ways to cope with these situations. Animals like the gerbils and the darkling beetles, we have seen how they survive in these deserts. And we have also learnt that these deserts there are different kinds of deserts, like some are sandy, some are rocky, some are covered with ice, and some are dotted with plants, and some others have beautiful flowers during the spring. Next, we learnt about the snakes. There are different kinds of snakes in the world. We saw how they feed on different kinds of prey and how they react when they are threatened, particularly the rattlesnake, how it holds its tail straight and rattles when it is threatened, etc., etc. we have learnt. Then after that, we learnt about the mongooses, and we learnt that mongooses, they live together, they hunt together, and how they tell each other or how they warn each other about the approaching danger. Then at last, we learnt about the sheep of the desert, the camel, which lives or which survives in the harsh conditions, how nature has given it long shaggy coats and shorter tidier coats to survive in the harsh conditions of the desert. So thank you children for listening.